microphone for the softening. This is how I live till they end up in my coffin.
All right, guys, welcome back to Red Top Report. You know me, I'm your host, Joe Enders, but we're going to be doing something a little bit different today. We went to the movies, and we're here at Red Top. We're talking about culture, guys. We're big on culture, what's going on in the culture. So we're going to be doing a movie review today. And who I have joining me is Church Militant's head of production and the guy I actually went to go see this movie with, Charlie Hornbacher. Welcome to the show, Charlie. Should I call you Charles?
Yeah, I guess Charles works.
Can you put a monocle
Or
on me
Charlie.
for that one? It sounds very fancy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you. We can do
No, it's
monocle,
fat.
yeah.
That's very nice. Quite. Yes.
Quite
so
right.
we saw the movie The Whale. And this movie has been getting like a lot of publicity lately, like a lot of publicity just because he won the 2023 Critics' Choice Awards Best Actor Award in it. And that's the star Brendan Fraser. And he's been the talk of the town because there's been all sorts of stuff going on in his life, like the fact that he was dealing with like sexual harassment and stuff early on in his acting career, and maybe even a sexual assault. I don't want to say that for sure because, you know, it can get us in trouble. But you know what we're doing here. So Charlie, we saw this movie, and I remember when you had left, you had kind of a different take on the movie than most other, the different take on the movie than I did. And we're going to go in and discuss that a little later, guys. Don't even worry about that. But what were your initial thoughts like when we left the theater after watching the movie?
Well, just before I get into that, just want to say there's probably going to be a couple of mild spoilers in our talk about this film.
Sure.
So, you know, you're warned. We'll do our best not to give away anything major.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! All right.
Spoiler alert!
So what were your initial thoughts?
Yeah,
I mean,
so-
obviously this is like a story. This is obviously a story about a guy who's extremely overweight and his struggles with being overweight because he has an eating disorder. And it's obviously like there's a whole plot line to this.
Yeah. So I remember seeing the trailer for the first time, and I was super excited to see this movie because it looked really good.
Yeah.
And I'm big on characters. I'm big on character development. And when I'm in a movie theater, I want to put myself in the character's shoes. And so when a character's going through something like he is in this film, he's grossly overweight, and it's clearly a problem represented in the trailer, made me excited to see it. But then I found out main character's gay.
Yeah.
And I went,
More PC stuff for everybody. Yeah, here we go again. He's going to be the hero.
He's gay. But you recommended we go see it, and I said, you know, yeah, sure, let's go and see it. I heard it's good. The character's gay. You know, maybe they're probably going to do some woke stuff with that. But you know what? It was not some typical woke silliness. It was actually really good. And I did come out of the theater with a little bit of a reservation. I felt like if someone who's pro-homosexuality watched that movie, they might have sympathy for the main character because of the gay part of it.
Like he might be feeling like torn, you know, or something like with the idea, you know, with the idea.
Yeah.
And I just want to expound on that a little bit just so everybody knows. And like I said, there's going to be mild spoilers throughout this thing. It's nothing that's going to, I don't think we're going to say much that's going to ruin the movie for anybody. So even if you do listen to this part, by all means, keep listening. It really is nothing that's going to make you like the movie less, that we're going to say. I can tell you that right now. Like there's no, you know what I mean? There's not a lot of bombshells throughout the entire film about in that regard. The idea is that this is a man who was married and had a child, a daughter specifically. Daughter's name is Ellie. And he left them for a younger male
who was his student.
Yeah, a younger male student, because he was gay. You know what I mean? So he was gay. So that was who he, you know, there's this idea that people might be torn. It's like, oh, that's just who he truly was inside, and he needed to represent it.
He needed to find his true self and abandon his wife and daughter.
I didn't get that impression.
Yeah, and you told me that you didn't get that impression. And after thinking about it and thinking about certain scenes and how the scenes played out and what was said by the various characters, I kind of realized, while I still think that certain people with that disposition might feel sympathy for the main character, I don't think the story told it that way. The story was not trying to get you to feel sympathy for the main character, Charlie, which is my name, which is kind of funny. Anyway.
Charlie, are you a morbidly obese homosexual man?
I might be morbidly obese. but I'm not homosexual.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yes.
But no, in all seriousness, there was a few of those lines. One of the ones that really struck me was when he was talking to his ex-wife. And while he was talking to his ex-wife, he had the wife like just had a moment of like clarity where she just finally just yelled out the truth at her husband. It was just like, I had to explain to everybody why my husband left me for a man. And that was just like a really dramatic knife into your heart, where it's just like, I can't even imagine how a woman would feel about that if that were to happen. It really shows the hurt that comes from being a homosexual and abandoning your family.
And the irony of how the culture is today, I do think some people would feel sympathy for this character because he's gay and he left his family to fulfill his, needs and wants and desires because he's gay and he's got to find himself or some crap like that. The funny thing is, though, is I really think, morally speaking, not just because it's homosexuality, leaving your wife and child for a gay lover is actually kind of worse than leaving, maybe, let's say, for a woman.
But it's funny because if you were to think about it in modern in the modern culture today, if someone, if it were normal and a man left his wife for a younger female student, there would be no sympathy for him.
Oh yeah, there'd be
none.
Absolutely zero sympathy. And that's kind of the irony, is that, if you leave your spouse because of, for another woman, let's say, if you're a man, you leave your spouse for a younger, more attractive woman, the wife that was left, is going to be hurt.
Yeah.
But her ego, not her ego,
her identity
as
a wife is shattered.
But if that same husband left for a younger man, she's going to question, like, what went wrong here? It's obvious if a guy goes for a younger woman,
right?
But if he suddenly goes for a guy, it's like, well, what didn't I do?
Yeah, exactly.
How did I not see that? How did I mess that up? Did I turn him gay? Things like that.
Yeah, it's like, was I that awful?
So
there's all these questions that, like, it brought up questions that I had never seen in a movie before.
Yeah,
I'd never seen in a movie before. And then the interesting thing about the story is it's the entire plot of the story is this pathetic, disgusting person. The opening scene, and by the way, guys, I do not recommend this movie for kids. Kids should go nowhere near this film at all whatsoever. But if you're an adult that's curious about the effects of homosexuality on a family, I highly recommend going and seeing this film, because it's truly magnificent the way it outlines everything, because it's a redemption arc.
Yes,
the story, the entire story it's a redemption arc, and it begins with this sad, pathetic person masturbating to homosexual pornography. There's no genitalia visible or anything. So, obviously, if you're saying
the guy is too fat for you to see anything.
Yes.
So it's disgusting in more ways than just one.
It's not supposed to express, support for homosexuality. Beauty. It's just disgusting. It's supposed to be, and you feel that way while the opening scene happens. Now, that said, what I found profound is that it starts out as this pathetic and disgusting person, and then it builds up to the point at which he says, I just want to do one thing right in my entire life. And what he's trying to do is repair that relationship with his daughter that he damaged through his decisions. And that decision was choosing homosexuality and a male student, a boyfriend, over his own daughter. Yeah. And it's recognized throughout the whole thing. There's constant discourse between the daughter and the father, and how the daughter hates him.
Yes. The film does a very good job of showing how his choice to leave his family for a young, and it was a student of his. In the film, he's a English teacher, and he left for a young student of his. imagine a guy leaving to go out with a young female student of his. I don't think the woke culture would approve of that. But
No, they'd be Me Tooing him in a second.
exactly. So that action has such a profound effect, not just on himself because his life is completely upside down, but it also clearly has affected his daughter. His daughter hates him, and there's a lot of tension there. Also,
but the tension, I want to add
wife is
something.
an alcoholic.
Yeah, I want to add something. The tension between them is legitimate. You feel that it's a legitimate tension. It's like she does have a right to be angry, and it's communicated, and the director actually does make you want to feel that, and you do.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, when I'm in a film, I want to be invested in the characters,
Right.
and while I did have a hard time relating to the main character Charlie. Despite his name, it was hard to relate to him because he was gay.
Yeah.
But I did ultimately find myself emotionally invested in the character, wanting him to repair this relationship. I also was able to put myself in the shoes of the daughter and of the wife. And I was able to feel all of this tension. And there were times when the main character, the protagonist, is being, told off, being... F-bombs being thrown at him, I hate you type of stuff.
And all he does is say, I'm sorry.
He's just, I'm sorry. But you know what? I actually felt like it was like he deserved it.
Yeah.
Which is a whole nother layer of
it helped.
effect.
It almost seems like it helped him come to the correct realization in the end.
Yeah. It's like if I had done something so horrible in my life, I would be hurt by those types of things being said to me. But I would also kind of recognize I deserve this. And so when I felt like he deserved it, I got to recognize it. It was a good film.
Brendan Fraser's acting it's superb.
Yeah.
It was superb. I believed it, man, watching him go. And there was the one part, and it wasn't like one of those things that's like super passionate and emotional, but he was just kind of like whispering it in a slow voice, or he's just like, because his boyfriend in the movie commits suicide. Right, his boyfriend, I believe, jumped off a bridge.
Yeah, it was referred to in the film.
Right.
It wasn't shown.
It wasn't shown. It was just referred to, and he jumped off a bridge because he felt like God didn't love him. And there is an important thing in here because Brendan Fraser's sad about thinking about this suicide because it was obviously something that tore his heart apart because he had this erotic love for this man, this deep erotic love for this man, and losing him hurt him greatly. It caused the eating disorder that made him morbidly obese and disgusting and all those things. He said, I told him that he didn't need God's love. He didn't need anybody's love. The only person's love that he needed was mine. You only need my love. And it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough for the guy. That's the message I immediately got from that. And I was like, that is terrific writing, and the way it was acted out was I have never seen something like that in a secular film.
And also, the film refers to all of these things in his past with his gay lover and with his wife and then with his child. Nothing he did ever, as far as the film is concerned, was correct, was right. Everything he did wrong.
Yep.
He did wrong but to other people. And by the end of the film, it's, does he deserve redemption? Does, trying to find the humanity in someone that just tore so many lives apart because of his selfishness.
Right.
And that line, you don't need God, you just need me. How selfish is that? How self-serving is that? In his mind, you got to imagine in that character's mind, he's thinking that he wants to, do something good for his gay lover, but actually it's just selfish. It's just inwardness. It's just not looking out for the other.
And the whole point is that he's got like a week to live, basically, right? And it's taking you through that because he's got what is it?
Let's put it up on the screen.
Yeah, we'll put it up on the screen. Congenial heart failure or something like that. Whereas like blood pressure is like 238.
He's ordering a pizza every single day.
Yeah, he's eating himself to death because he's so ashamed of himself.
Yeah.
Ronan, I appreciate if you could throw that up there when we do
I got
that.
you, no problem.
I figured, cool. So the So the ending I found was very interesting. And like I said, yes, it's a spoiler, guys, but you'll still, I don't think it would affect you that much. The ending was the most profound part of the entire film, I thought. And it's him standing up and walking without his walker for the first time, because he needed a walker because he was so fat. And he stands up and starts walking towards his daughter. And it seemed to me in that moment, it communicated to me that this was when he realized that the man who committed suicide was not the love of his life. His daughter was.
Yeah, it was very profound, and I got to give props to the makeup artists and the people that designed the fat suit, because unlike most films where there are fat suits for comedic effect, this fat suit was very realistic and sold me on the idea that Brendan Fraser was that fat, which of course he's not.
Yeah, he did gain weight for the film, I saw, but it wasn't that much.
Not
obviously,
even
it wasn't
close
even
to
like
that much.
a quarter of that. But yeah, and I think that Catholics and the faithful should be supporting storylines that do bring up these harsh things. I think that these harsh topics are good, not for kids, obviously, but for Catholic adults to go watch, because it really allows you to grip the subjects that many people don't even think exist. And this is the most important thing, and I want to close on this point. The most important thing about this movie is that it shows that a same-sex attracted person can find redemption in the end.
Yeah, and I would just add to that I think that it is very important that we support films, among many other types of films that go into sin and really kind of do a deep dive into what it's like to live with sin, whether it's homosexuality or gluttony or lust or anger.
And it touches on all those sins. It's not just homosexuality. It's a broad swath of sins put together into one person. And you know what, Charlie, with that said, it was really great having you on. I think we're going to do more of these in the future. I want to have these, when we'll go to the movie, we'll watch
when a good
something.
movie comes out.
We'll go watch it. Even a bad movie comes out, maybe even, I don't know, but we'll watch it and we'll talk about it, because I think that we need to start encouraging Catholics to do better movies. So thanks for coming on. I really do. I really do appreciate that. All right, guys, that's all we have for today's episode of Red Top Report. Let us know in the comments if you liked the movie review idea. I think we could do more of these. I think it's fun. We really do got to dig into the culture. We do got to understand what's going on. I mean, we're Catholics. We're responsible for evangelizing the world. How can we evangelize the world if we don't even know what's going on in it? And with that said, guys, give us a follow on Instagram, give us a follow on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube, and if you really want to make sure that this show can keep going on, you need to give us your money.
I'm here for money. Money.
And then when you give us your money, you go to buymeacoffee.com, and please, you can give us a single donation, or you could do a Joe for Joe coffee donation, which is a $5 a month donation. And it'll really just help us keep this thing going, because we love what we do here, and we want to make sure that we can keep keeping you guys entertained, catechized, everything that you want to find in the Catholic world, all right here at Red Top Report. We're doing the culture. We're going to make it right. And with that said, God bless.